What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson. Today, joined by my co-hosts, Colin Alcabes and Will Cohen. Today, we're here to give our reasonings on why the New York Rangers should fire their head coach, Peter Laviolette. We've hit rock bottom. That's not been a good season, as I'm sure most of you know, but we're going to get right on into that. So before we do, make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss notification. Please be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. And whether you agree with us on this firing, possibly, or disagree, let us know down in the comment section below. So let's get right on into it. Colin, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I've been waiting for this episode. This is one that I've started talking about. It's one that I'm in favor of firing him, and obviously we'll get into that a little bit. Is this our first episode post-Christmas?
Post what?
Post-Christmas? I know it's first episode of the new year.
Yeah, we've been bad about recording recently. We've been busy. I think the last one we did was the taco trade, so a lot has happened. Since we've been back.
Well, it's good to be back. Good to be back.
Yeah, but Will, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's been hard watching the Rangers. I kind of had to force myself to. I actually didn't even finish the Florida Panthers game because I was just frustrated watching it. It's been like that for the last few games. I'm excited to talk about this episode, though.
It has been a frustrating few weeks. I know we haven't been as active making videos as we would have liked. Hopefully, we're gonna get more videos up now that we're kind of back into it. But we've been watching. I mean, I've been watching, and I've been having a field day on the social media accounts, just tearing this team apart. So, if you like to see me rage and crash out, that's where you should look. But today we're here to talk about Peter Laviolette, the head coach of the New York Rangers. And I was a big Peter defender for a long time. You know, I blame the players, I blame Drury. And at this point, at this stage of the season, January 2nd, I feel like Laviolette needs to hold some accountability. He's made some very questionable decisions. Obviously, the trades that have happened, not his call, but it's who he puts on the ice that kind of confuses me a little bit. The fact that Mika Zibanejad has not been scratched yet this season is a little mind-boggling. You know, Kreider was a healthy scratch. Obviously, Kreider hasn't been at his best either, but I think there's a long list of players who need to be scratched before that. You think back a couple weeks ago before Kakko was traded, he was a healthy scratch. Didn't really make any sense to me, but, we kind of touched upon that one in the Kakko trade episode if you guys want to check that one out. But I just look at this lineup and the fact that nothing's changing and that Laviolette is letting these veterans just get away with terrible hockey. Meanwhile, Zach Jones, who is a young, very high potential defenseman, is a frequent healthy scratch. Now he's expressing his frustrations with that too. It blows my mind. The fact that Laviolette is making these decisions and is offering no explanation whatsoever makes me think he should be on the hot seat. I'm not fully sold on the fact that I think we should fire him, but if this continues, then I'm all for it. I'm kind of leaning towards the firing right now, but I'll let you guys share your initial thoughts too.
I agree with a lot of what you said. The mismanagement of the lineup and the blind look veterans can't go unnoticed. It's a common theme that we've seen with this team going back for a long time now, where these young up-and-coming players are just getting absolutely slammed against a wall. They don't have any chance of making the lineup night in and night out. And then you have Jones, voice his frustration, say he feels dropped by, even though I think he has the second best plus-minus on the team, the only players he's plus. Okay, Andre Miller and Ryan Lindgren, two black holes in the defense, are consistently playing. And then you have voice his frustration. He got shipped up. It's a common theme here. It's just these young players aren't getting a day. These veterans not really producing whatsoever. I constantly get the nod. It really does make me. I loved the scratch to Kreider. I think that was the first that really called out a veteran. But like I said, and you said too, he was not the first one that should have been scratched. Obviously, I think he should have been at some point. But like I just said, two guys on defense that could be scratched on a night-to-night basis. I gave Ruedel more time before I gave Andre Miller any more ice time, and then. Also, the mismanagement of Philip Hedl playing one of his best games against the Panthers, and then he isn't out there in the final minutes, but Mika Zibanejad is. After you take him off of the first power play unit, you reward him with the dying seconds of the game in the hopes that maybe he'll get it going when he can't do it on the power play. I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking or what's going on, but it's just it's I'm at a loss of words.
I am too. Will, if you want to give your initial thoughts, I'd be happy to hear them. I know you always have some choice words for the management when things aren't going well.
I'm kind of like not off and on. I'm kind of like 50-50 on firing him. I think if they were going to fire him, it was going to be I think it would have been a long before right now or long before anything else happens. I know that in Vince Mercogliano's one of his newest articles, he said that James Dolan and Chris Drury are still in hopes that the season can be turned around and that they can make the playoffs. So I feel like that's a reason why they're not firing him yet. But there are some questionable calls he's made. I know you guys talked about scratching Kreider. I thought it, like Colin said, I thought it was good. He's holding the veterans accountable, but you have guys like Mika Zibanejad who go out there and he's not playing his best games this season. His career is taking a regression this year, and there's no accountability for that. I know he was taken off the power play and put on the second unit, but he's still playing on a power play unit, and he obviously got to go out for the 6-on-4 when a guy like Filipino was probably the most noticeable Ranger on the ice for the game. He didn't get to go out for that, but Laviolette also said that Hedl was out for the power play, so that's why he didn't go. But there have been some very questionable calls. Ryan Lindgren, why hasn't he been scratched yet? He's been, like Colin said, a black hole this year. Keandre Miller that game against the Florida Panthers was just very bad for him. And a guy like Zach Jones, I know maybe he might have not been playing as well as some other guys in the lineup, hence why he's being scratched, but he's a young defenseman, and you have to take a chance and see what you have. So he's made some questionable calls, but I think if he was going to get fired, it would have happened before now. So that's why I'm kind of leaning 50-50 that he's going to stay and not be fired.
Yeah, I'll bring up this quote that we posted on the socials a couple of days ago from Larry Brooks. It's about how the Rangers have basically quit. I'm sure you two have seen it, but to be anyone that's watching that hasn't seen it, Larry Brooks said, the Rangers have quit on their coach. They have quit on the organization. They have quit on themselves. They have quit on each other. They have quit on the fans who pay top dollar to fill the Garden, and they have quit on New York. So much for no quit in New York, right? But see, to me, even if the problem isn't Laviolette, it's kind of hard to win when your players clearly just don't care and don't want to be playing for this guy, which, I honestly can't blame them. If I'm a young player like Zach Jones and I'm trying to make a name for myself in the NHL and I'm not even playing bad, Zach Jones and Braden Schneider lead the entire team in plus minus right now, or over the last couple of weeks, I should say, not overall. But, a guy like Zach Jones who has not been playing bad at all and is continuously out of the lineup because, Ryan Lindgren, he's a household name, even though he's terrible. Keandre Miller, even though he's terrible, they still get to play top minutes because they're a veteran and I like them. That's the stuff from Peter Laviolette that really makes me think something needs to change. The fact that your players just have given up, you can't fire them up and get them ready to go win hockey games. It's a little sad. It's also sad that the players even need that kind of motivation from their coach. They should be wanting to go out there and play their hardest every single game. But it kind of seems like Peter Laviolette has not attempted anything. His style of trying to fix this mess of a season is just scratching a young player and then not even addressing anything. So I don't know. I'm all for firing him. I think the evidence is there that something big needs to change. Yes, there are also other changes that need to be made within the roster, certain players that need to go too. But I think a change in management and who's behind the bench is another big part of it too. So that's my thoughts. I know we're all a little busy, so we're going to wrap it up soon, but I'll let each of you just give any closing thoughts if you have any.
Honestly, I think Kako said it best in that where it's easy to point to the young guy and blame him and kind of scapegoat him. And I don't agree with that at all. And I think that that's the issue, and that's the constant theme here, as I was mentioning before. And I think when you look at a team like the Rangers, who are coming into the season as Cup favorites, to have the regression that they have, their special teams isn't performing well. Their defense looks terrible, and there's just been no change. You need a little bit of a shakeup. And even if it isn't him, the people that he brought in have kind of taken a toll on this team. Phil Housley, he brought in Phil Housley. It's been terrible. The special teams have been terrible. The defensive coaching has been terrible. I feel like if he doesn't go, at least all the assistant coaches need to go. There needs to be some form of change, and you can't do a whole lot of change with this roster, with the money, how it's structured, and the players and their movement clauses and what wants to happen. Like the team is how it is. There's not really a whole lot they can do, even though they've kind of bullied, some players into leaving. And Zibanejad just said he'd be willing to go. So there's a little bit of fluctuation with that, but like for the most part, the team is what it is. You need to find a guy who's going to be able to get them to play how they need to start winning hockey games again. And it seems like Laviolette has completely lost his touch and lost the locker room as a whole. And it just seems like everybody's kind of flopping around trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And I think a new system just needs to be employed. And I think that might get the locker room going again. I might jumpstart it and, maybe save it. But I know right now, the stat that I hate to see, and I see it all the time, is that the Rangers already statistically cannot have more points than they did last year. And it was December when I read that. It was like mid-December. So that was a really disheartening thing to see. I know last year obviously was a year for the ages, but coming into the season, I thought that we were going to be just as good, if not better. So it's definitely disheartening, and something needs to change. And Drury can only do so much.
Yeah, I agree. Will, did you have any closing remarks, or are we all good here?
I'm honestly all good. Colin kind of took the words out of my mouth.
All right. Well, shout out Colin for that one. Last thing I'll say is it's been a rough time being a Rangers fan. This roster, management, everything, it's just absolutely terrible. But we're sticking through it. The Rangers play tonight. So hopefully, we'll pull like a St. Louis Blues type situation, entering the new year. We just turn things around, make the playoffs, maybe as a wild card team, and maybe some magic will happen. But as of right now, if that magic is going to happen, our opinion at least is that Peter Laviolette needs to be fired. So we'll see if anything happens. I don't think the Rangers are done making any moves anytime soon. So maybe we'll be back shortly with a breaking news reaction video. So if you want to see anything like that, make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss notification. Once again, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And lastly, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. I'll be posting live coverage of the game tonight on there. So if you want to see me crash out, that's where you go look. So have a good one. And are we saying let's go Rangers?
Yeah,
do we deserve it?
We ride or die with this team, regardless. I still have faith that they could do it, and even if they can't,
all right, we'll say it. Ready? And most importantly, have a good one. And
let's
go.